Hey everybody, this is Stel Afti with Close.com, and today we're going to talk about customer intimacy. A lot of you know how important this concept is for us and how often it pops up in our content. And so we had a number of people reach out to us and ask us a variety of questions around customer intimacy, what it is and how to develop it further within your organization. And we collected some of the best questions and thought we'd do a little video and answer your questions directly around this incredibly important, crucial topic. So first, what is customer intimacy, right? I mean, what it describes for us is really the concept of the relationship that you are nurturing with your customers. Some refer to this as customer centricity, which is kind of a cool word, but it's not really as relational as I'd like it to be. Is the company customer focused or not? You hear that a lot. Or we are a customer focused company. You hear that a lot. The reason why we like intimacy as a word is because it implies not just that we put the customer at the center of something, a whiteboard, an office building, some slide deck to investors, but that we have to have closeness. And not just closeness in terms of physical proximity, but in terms of actual understanding, right? Intimacy describes a very human relationship, a human dynamic that is, almost palpable. And that's how we like to think about the relationship that we need to nurture to our customers. We need intimacy with our customers. We need to understand them on an intimate level, know what their needs are, understand their emotions, their fears, their habits, what moves them, what drives them, how their lives look like. And we need to care about all that. We need to care and have not just empathy for it. We don't just need to have, data around these things, but we need to have care, right? We need to give a shit about who the customer is, and what moves them and what drives them and what challenges they have. And we need to care about the customer and understand the customer on such an intimate level that we're able to serve them better than any competitor can. This is a fundamental strategy, a core part of culture. Either you have it at the center of what organization you're building, at the center of your own heart, or you don't. You can't just slap this on a slide deck and then boom, customer intimacy appears. It's not a buzzword. It's not sexy. It's not in or trendy. And that's why it works. And that's why it is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, that you could get better at. So why is it important to have great customer intimacy? Well, there's a quote I like to say often and say loudly, which is that whoever understands the customer best will ultimately end up owning them and deserving their business, right? If your competitor understands your customer better than you, it's just a matter of time until it's going to be their customer, and deservedly so. The reverse can also be true. But ultimately, the organization that serves the customer best will gain and get their business. If you really think long term, that's how you get there. Now, why? Well, because you're going to be able to build better products for that customer. You're going to be able to offer better services. You're going to be able to market more effectively to them, to sell more effectively to them. You're going to be able to onboard them better, retain them longer, support them more efficiently, expand their business with your business. If you understand the customer incredibly well, and if you're very, very intimate with your customers, you're going to be able to have better insights, generate more and better insights on how and what to build, how to innovate, how to serve, how to market, how to brand, how everything. So it is the most important thing, I believe, when it comes to winning in business. Business is simple. It's people that are complicated, and it's people that complicate things. So at the core of business, to me, it's all about understanding your customer better than anyone else and investing in that relationship, in that intimacy more consistently, more creatively than anyone else. not have any blinders on, any preconceived notions, any agendas, other than to truly love your customer and serve them more and better than anyone else out there in the market, right? It's as simple as that. Now, let's look at some of the other questions that people had. What are some specific strategies to build customer intimacy? Well, the most important thing is something you can't fake, you can't copy paste. You can't just read in a book and then it's there. It's care, right? You need to give a shit. You need to truly care. You need to have internalized this. It needs to be part of your makeup, your philosophy, your culture, the things you value as a human. It starts with the founding team, with the management team, with leadership, and then it will penetrate every single person within the company. But if leadership doesn't give a shit and the founders don't give a shit about the customer and don't want customer intimacy or don't live and embody the philosophy of customer intimacy, it doesn't matter what you tell people to do in your company, you'll never ever get there. So you need to give a shit. You need to care about customers, and you need to understand why that's going to help you win and is going to make your company, your business, your job much, much better, much, much more impactful at the end of the day. Now, when it comes to specific strategies, some companies do that by, doing something similar to what Amazon did, right? Amazon, brilliantly, one of the most customer-centric companies on the planet, sat down and Jeff Bezos realized that if we're in the business of technology to serve customers, we can't be chasing innovation and chasing technology for innovation and technology's sake, because every other day there's going to be some new technology, some new fad, some new hyped up thing, and we're going to get sidetracked and we're going to be zigging and zagging to nowhere. It can be incredibly distracting. So we need a North Star, and our North Star is going to be our customer. So let's ask ourselves, not what is changing in the world, not what technology is being invented around the world, because that's going to drive us insane, but what will never change? What will never change with our customers? What will never ever change? And they came up with two simple answers. Our customers will never want to pay more money for the same product, and they will never want to wait longer to get the same product. So they centered these two things as their North Stars to serving the broad customer base of this planet, right? When it comes to, commerce, we want to bring people any product they want faster and cheaper than anyone else. And technology will be a servant towards that North Star, servant towards that goal. So any technology that we can use, any innovation that we can use, anything we can invent to make the price of items go down and the speed to delivery go up, that's what we're going to do next. But if something is cool or hyped up and everybody loves it, we're not going to just jump on technology bandwagons if these things cannot help us with our core two strategic questions. How do we make things cheaper and how do we deliver them faster, right? So when, for instance, social media popped up and every company was supposed to become a social media company within 24 hours or be dead. I know this is hard to believe, but this is what was going on at the time. Give me 1 second. Speak of the devil. Got my new Amazon package delivered. So there was a time where people thought if your company doesn't transform into a social media company, whatever that meant, a social network of sorts, within a couple of days or weeks, you'd be a dinosaur, you'd be dead. Amazon was one of the big tech companies that completely ignored that. And the reason was simple. They couldn't figure out how social media would help them get stuff to customers faster and cheaper. So although it was exciting technology, and although they could see how many of their authors or vendors could benefit from social media to market their products and services, Amazon didn't focus on it and didn't get distracted by it. So that's one way you can go about this, is to set a long-term North Star strategic goal, which is how do we put the customer at the center of what we do by asking ourselves what will never change for our customer, what our customers will always care about, and how can we every month, every quarter, every year get better and better and better at that one thing. In Amazon's case, it was these two things, cheaper and faster. You could do that. That's not what we do at Close, which relates to the next question, not just specific strategies, but give us some specific examples of how Close has done this. Well, Close did this very differently from Amazon. We're a very different company, obviously. The way we did this is by understanding that we want to have a beautiful, intimate relationship with our customers. So from the get-go, we're going to do anything and everything within our power to stay close to our customer and pay real good attention. This is also the solution to any good relationship, right? It's intimacy. Intimacy is not just closeness, right? Or frequency of interaction. See how that's different? Intimacy implies a knowing, an understanding, a true seeing, having proximity, but also the openness, the curiosity, the ability to fully see the other person, to recognize and be recognized. And in this case, it's like saying, now, how do I have intimacy in my personal relationship or in my marriage? Well, not by writing it on a slide deck or by putting a slogan on the wall. We always care about intimacy in this household. Is by working hard consistently at creating space and experiences and opportunities to be seen, to see, to recognize, to hear, to listen, to create space, to understand, to experience things together. So at Close, from the get-go, our engineering team was sitting next to sales reps, listening, seeing how sales reps were selling, were closing deals, were using the software every single day. Our engineers were not separated from the sales team. We are the only CRM that's ever had an engineering team build the CRM within the sales floor. Being screamed at by salespeople as well as looking salespeople over the shoulder all day long, seeing how they worked, seeing how difficult it was to be in sales. Our engineering team has a much higher and had a much higher empathy level when we started Close because they cared about the sales team, because they were friends that were going out for lunch and dinner and drinks and hanging out on the weekends together. Not something that a lot of other CRMs did and could claim at day one. We, as the founders, did support from day one ourselves. It's another way of having customer intimacy, understanding the frustrations of customers, the things that are stupid, the things that people don't get, and also the language your customers are using, who your customers truly are. I was calling every single trial sign up and welcoming them to a free trial on Close and asking them how they found out about us, what their problems are, what they're trying to accomplish. And my co-founder was answering all the support tickets. And the third co-founder was sitting next to a sales rep and fixing a bug and building the next feature. And we sustained that. Now, when you start out, it is easier to do this. If you have 2 or 3 co-founders that really, really deeply care about the customer, you could be, you have to have that intimacy to generate those insights, to truly understand who the customer is, what language they use, what problems they have, what pain they feel, what thing confuses them, what excites them, how they make decisions, why they leave. You will understand a tremendous amount about your customers if the founding team or the founders are truly dedicated to the customer. But as you hire more and more people, a lot of companies lose their edge. The intimacy goes down the drain, just like in real relationships, right? Like at the beginning, when you're dating somebody, everybody is, putting on the best effort. You're coming up with crazy ideas, romantic dates, gifts, adventures, surprises. You're amazing. And then 1 year into the marriage, 2, 5, 10 years into the marriage. Now we've been married to some of our customers for over a decade, to some of our employees for over a decade, right? We've been doing this for a minute at Close. Long term, do people keep that level of commitment? They don't. The same thing is true for organizations. As you hire more and more and more people, there's a natural divide, a rift between you as an organization and all your employees and all your team members and the customers, right? You only get secondhand knowledge. You try to, in some cases, actually push the customer away from you, right? Most software companies are horrendously terrible at offering support because they don't want to hear from customers. They don't want to get distracted. It's a cost center. They're trying to offer it as cheaply as possible. In some cases, as cheaply as possible feels like not at all. Not at all would actually be better. There's a lot of software companies where no support at all would be a lot better than the support they're offering, where you are, given the runaround for hours and hours and hours and never ever have a chance to solve the problem. So what we did is we were committed that every person we hired needs to be somebody that can buy into the idea of customer intimacy, and then live it out. And today, still to this day, the amount of interaction that our sales team has with our customers and the amount of power we give our salespeople, the microphones we give them to share that information with the rest of the organization. Our support team still, every single day, we get many, many, many countless messages on how our support is amazing. And why? It's very simple. We don't outsource support, and we don't just look at support as a kind of low-tier work. We hire amazing people for support, incredible people that can solve real problems, that are passionate about solving problems. And then we give them all the tools and power to go and solve the problems of our customers, to be direct, to be honest, to not bullshit people, to solve problems. And we stand out through that, and we generate an incredible amount of insights. This is true for many other tactics that we've employed. From the get-go, we have always been visiting our customers when we could, going and visiting them at their offices, seeing their problems, seeing their culture, understanding how they work, understanding how they use our software within the greater context of their organization. We have been, spending countless time mingling with our customers, talking to our customers, sending them gifts, interacting with them, reading their blogs, following them on Twitter, caring about their world. One thing that we did very early on and that we sustained, which is another thing that's difficult for most companies, is that we chose a customer base that we liked and we stayed committed to it. We don't understand the world of enterprise, and we really don't care about enterprise organization, and we don't like them, if I'm honest. Like when big corporations come and want to buy or use something, we're annoyed by that. We say no. We send them away. We stay committed to small and medium-sized businesses because we like them. We understand them. They're like us. We're like them. That helps us in loving them, in caring for them, in servicing them, in serving them. And it helps us in staying committed to being intimate with them, to listening and keep listening to them. That has permeated the entire culture at Close. Now, next question. How does this relate to product market fit and our brand? Well, it relates tremendously, because if you don't understand your customer, you won't know if you're truly built something that they like, they need, something that truly transforms their needs. You can't just look at numbers. You can't just do an interview if you don't care and think that that's going to get you to customer product market fit, right? A lot of companies do this. They rush to product market fit, or they fake product market fit. They just go, well, we have 5 paying customers. That's product market fit. No, wrong. How is that product market fit? Are these customers successful? And successful by our definition at Close is not just happy. It's not just paying. The definition of successful is they're getting more value from your product and service than they're paying you by a big amount, and they know it. They appreciate it. You truly are making a massive difference to them. Right? Do you measure that? Do you know if that's true? Your customers tell you that? Just because you have some customers that decided to pay doesn't mean they are gaining and getting success from what they're paying, and that you're serving them better than any other available option out there. It doesn't. So product market fit can only be accomplished if you truly have established customer intimacy to generate the kind of insights, the knowledge to understand what is success for that customer, and do we deliver that in an outsized way, and does the customer realize that in full clarity? And this relates also to the last question that somebody sent us. Why should you keep developing customer intimacy over time rather than just doing it once and be done? For the same reason why you should be nice to your husband or wife once, or go out on date night once and then be done with it. Dating, done. Being nice to each other, done. Romance, done. Well, I mean, you can do that. Most people probably have done it in one way or another, more than we'd like to admit. But not if you want a happy marriage, a happy relationship. Not if you want something that will last and satisfy both parties. And it's the exact same reason why you need to keep investing in customer intimacy. You need to realize, which is something we had to realize painfully, that the more your company grows, the harder this gets. The more dedication this needs. The more work it becomes. You really won't feel like it. You won't feel like date night. Take this from a dad of 2 children. When you have babies and children that are crying and you're exhausted and your partner is exhausted, You won't feel like going out to some restaurant. You will feel like being on the couch ordering pizza and just watching something. No talking, no taking a shower, no effort. You will be so depleted at times. Well, that's why it's tough to have a happy relationship and a happy marriage that lasts. That's why it's tough to be a successful company, not just for a year, but for a decade, maybe even a century. It's very, 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 very difficult. But why should you keep investing in customer intimacy? Because the moment you stop caring about your customers as much, some other competitor will outrank you, and they won't get the customer immediately. It always comes with a delay. It might take them, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. But eventually they will have surpassed you in their insight, in their knowledge, in their innovation, in their product, in their marketing, their sales, and their support, in their organizational culture on how to serve your customer. And your customers will notice, and one by one, they will leave you. By the time it's a big red flag for you, it's way too late. By the time the luggage, the bags are packed, the cab is called, and your wife or husband is leaving for another relationship because you neglected them, that's not the right moment to fix the relationship. It's way too late. And that's what most companies experience. By the time they realize that the market has moved on, that their customers have moved on, it's too late. And don't just kid yourself. It's not just about keeping up with technology or innovation trends or what the market is doing or your competitors. Your customers are changing every day. They're changing. They're using different technologies. They're having different problems. They're having different things that impact their business. Their customers might change, and that might change everything about how they run their company. You need to know. You need to keep knowing. You need to care and keep caring. You need to keep working on the relationship forever if you want to have customers forever. If you only want to have customers for a short period of time, you have to work very hard or very long. And that's it. I think that gives you a good overview of what customer intimacy is and why it's so fundamentally important to your business. And if you have any more questions, our team always loves to hear from you. Just send us an email, send us a message. And until next time, let's go get them.